Drum roll! What it do, ski? It's your boy Farewell34, and 2017 is over. It's donezo, And with that, everyone's wrapping up the year with their best films they've seen lists, and you know what? This year, I'm gonna do one too, because why not? But no, seriously, I actually have seen quite a few movies this year, and there was a lot of good competition, so I thought, I think I could compile my favorite list, so why not? Plus, forget reactions, right? Forget those things. So disclaimer in case somebody may get offended by this top 10 list, in case they wanted to see a movie here but it's not on there. This is my personal top 10 best movies of the year list, so yours may be drastically different, mine may be drastically different. Cool. Also keep in mind there's a ton of other great movies that have come out this year that could have very well been on my list but just missed it by a little bit. But anyway, out of the films that I've seen, this is my top 10 best movies of 2017. Also, follow your boy. Number 10, Okja. So I had to go and give Netflix some love here because this film actually caught me by surprise. This film hit the streaming service back in June, and it was filled with a beefy cast that had some pretty solid chemistry, and overall it was a fun, wild, and pretty heartfelt ride. Not to mention, this was a film that maybe featured the cutest CG animal of the year. This is one of those films on a late Netflix night when you just kind of scroll through and click it, and I ended up really enjoying it. Plus, it's got some amazing cinematography. A lot of points in this film, I remember thinking to myself, this thing is just gorgeous. But it also has a serious message that just slightly is a little overbearing towards the end of the film, but nevertheless, it's still a solid film and I would highly recommend it. Also, it's got one of the best chase/action sequences I think I've ever seen, so if you like chase and action sequences. Number 9, Patriots Day. I feel this is a film that many sort of forget because it came out in January, and that's usually like the dumpster fire month for films when a studio doesn't feel confident with the film or they think it's bad, they kind of just throw it in January. That being said, Patriots Day is a great film depicting the events of the Boston Marathon bombing in a manner that pays respect to it, all while being in an immersive, engaging, and emotional ride with solid characters. It's super intense, and at many moments, whether it's during a standoff or in the more silent moments, I found my heart racing. Granted, this is a movie that's a little hard to watch at times due to the emotion and it being fairly recent and well done movie. Some of the action sequences in this actually blew me away with just how raw and gritty feeling these sequences were executed. Also, Marky Mark gives one of the best performances I've seen him do in a little while, so that's always good. Number 8, Get Out. Probably one of the most talked about, popular, and just flat out best movies of the year is Get Out. I mean, I need to get out. I never looked at tea the same anymore. Like if I see a friend having stirring tea, I just get out of the room. I'm not there. I'm gone. It's honestly surprising that this is actually the directorial debut for Jordan Peele, who many of you may know from his comedic work. This guy hits it out of the park with a film that is probably gonna be it's gonna be a classic. It's got such a big following already. It's so good. So good. With the racial climate, Get Out so perfectly brings to light the Black experience in a truly frightening, tense, engaging, and very hilarious film with solid performances from the entire cast, most notably Daniel Kaluuya. The initial mystery to it is so well executed that makes Get Out not only a fantastic social commentary with some solid twists and a well-crafted, thought-out story, for some an uncomfortable experience, but it's also a great time that'll keep conversations coming for years to come. Number 7, A Monster Calls. We have another January sleeper in the building. This is one of the first movies that I saw this year, and it blew me away. I enjoyed the hell out of this one, despite it being so sad. Pretty much the story follows a 12-year-old boy who's dealing with the loss of his mother, who's dying from an illness, and it's just him coming to terms and dealing with that, and it's just such a powerful film. At first, I didn't really know what to make of this. I'm like, okay, it's a fantasy film, and then I'm like, wait, it's a children's movie, but then it's really not, and then it's just super grim and then just dark and depressing. I really love the story, even though it was fairly simple. It was just really well done. The idea of exploring the complexities of life through a child in this fantasy works so well, and you feel just immersed with the visuals and the hierarchy of the inner narrative structure that this film presents. And with regards to all the heavy subject matter with, dying, death, faith, etc., the film plays it off fairly well. At many points, I feel as if this film could have went overboard, but they played it just the right amount in a lot of the situations. And with regards to the storytelling, when it comes to the bigger scenes, they carry significant impact. Also, there's some solid performances by the lead, Lewis McDougall. He does a great job throughout this thing. Also, Felicity Jones, someone who I wasn't the biggest fan of initially from Rogue One. I haven't really seen too much of her previous stuff. This kind of turned me on to her. So if you're looking for an unconventional children's story that's rather dark and has some heavier messages and tones, I'd say give this one a check. Although probably bring a tissue or two because it's kind of sad. Number 6, Good Time. Coming in at number 6 and the first film from A24 on my list, man, has this guy changed from his vampire days. So this was a really interesting film. It's called Good Time, but ironically, it's really not a good time at all within the context of the film. The story to the cinematography, the tone, the real gritty and grungy feel to this thing, and the directing, Good Time stands out as one of the year's best. Not to mention, the performances from the entire cast here is so good, and I honestly think that Robert Pattinson deserves an Oscar nomination at least for this role here, because he absolutely kills it. At points, this thing makes you feel very sad for the characters, and then quickly you become uncomfortable, and it's honestly a roller coaster of a film, and that's what makes this thing work, because it's engaging from almost the very beginning to the end. The score here is one of these standouts of the year for me. It's got this real dirty synths and synthetic set to it that provides a perfect atmosphere for the events that happen in the movie. So if you're looking for a very gritty, dark, on-the-run / on-the-fly movie, I think Good Time is definitely one you should check out. Number 5, The Disaster Artist. So The Disaster Artist is about the making of one of the best, worst movies of all time. And it's one of the best movies this year, and from James Franco and Seth Rogen and all the people who were involved. This is such a good film. So this is another one by A24, and it takes the top 5 spot because the director and lead, James Franco, along with his brother and usual friends you see in his movies, Seth Rogen and more, make a film that really is passionate about the topic of Tommy Wiseau's The Room and pays respect to it in Disaster Artist, in the source material of the book. While not just being extremely hilarious, but what makes this one work so well is it's really about a story about 2 outcasts that nobody believes in, and that's what makes this movie work so well. It's hilarious, it's heartwarming, it's inspiring, it really gives you a sense of going for your dreams, and overall it's just a really well put together film that's fun and a good time, and that's the number 5 film on my list. Number 4, Mother! Exclamation mark! So Mother was a film that was like getting destroyed. It was like getting decimated by critics when the film came out. It was also very divisive. There's a couple of people who also really enjoyed it. Clearly, by being number 4 on my list, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Sometimes I like to go into movies without knowing very little information. And if I'm really reckless, I go into a movie literally knowing nothing but the title and maybe like knowing that it has a good rating, without even watching a trailer or anything. And that's what I did for Mother. I was on some shit, dude. That being said, Mother was a movie that I did this for, and it was probably one of the best movie experiences that I've had this year. I went with a group of friends, and this was one of those films that you'll leave having conversations about it in depth with people because of the story and trying to piece together what exactly was happening in the film and trying to figure out what certain things are, what the metaphor for the film is, what metaphor for certain people or instances that happen are, and characters. This aspect alone, for I guess the challenging aspect of the film, made it so much fun to piece together the narrative as I was watching this, and it was extremely satisfying from that perspective. On top of that, from a technical standpoint, I think this film's fantastic. Towards the later half of the film, it escalates quickly, literally, and the cinematography here to the directing by Darren Aronofsky is just phenomenal. Some of the work that he does here is top-notch. Plus, Javier Bardem does a really good job here, as well as Jennifer Lawrence. I thought she did a good job, not amazing or anything, does a solid job for this film. Mother can be confusing, but it's also an intense and visceral and somewhat uncomfortable film to watch. That being said, it's also brilliant, and I would highly recommend checking it out and experiencing it for yourself. Check it out. It's gonna get wonky, dude. It's gonna get wonky. Number 3, The Florida Project. This is another A24 film that came out towards, I think it came out in August, and this is a really good one, y'all. You should definitely check it out. From the writing to the directing to the cast, this is just such a great film. It follows the story of a group of misfit kids living in some motels just outside of Disney World, following these people who live check to check. They follow their lives, and it's such a real movie. While it could have felt like this film was sort of glamorizing poverty, and it really doesn't come across that way. Not to mention, having the story come across from the kids' perspective, it brings such a genuine and fresh feel amidst some of the really heavier and relatively sad situations that happen in the film. That being said, there's still a ton of hilarious moments sprinkled throughout this thing, and the child actors here are outstanding. A lot of the talent here are first-time actors, and they all have solid debuts. Also, shout out to my dude Willem Dafoe. He has a pretty big supporting role in this film. the manager of the motel. He has some great moments in here. I would be surprised if he doesn't get an Oscar nomination for supporting role, because he does a fantastic job. Probably one of the best things I've seen him in a very long time. With The Florida Project, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Now on to my number 2 movie of 2017. Number 2, Lady Bird. There's almost nothing I can really say bad about Lady Bird, because this was such a great movie. The story is of this girl who calls herself Lady Bird and is going through the late adolescent stages of high school, you know, transitioning from grade 12 to college and dealing with all the things that come with that. We have a lot of first times in this film. This is a debut for Greta Gerwig, who not only does a fantastic job directing, but also in her writing. She brings such an authentic, hilarious, heartfelt film about just regular people, just doing regular things. Nothing out of this world happens in this film. It's literally just about Lady Bird in her last year of high school doing what average high school kids do, but it's just so authentic and well executed and funny and clever, and I love this film. Not to mention, there's a lot of issues that are sort of addressed in here that are well put. Some of them are a little more out there, while others are more subtle. By the end of the film, I was so mad about how it ended, not because the film was bad or anything or the ending was poor, but just because I wanted to see more of the story. I wanted to know, like, okay, what's gonna happen to this character? What's gonna happen to that character? And it just sort of ends, and I think that's a sign of how great and brilliant this movie is. So Lady Bird is number 2 on my top 10 best movies of 2017. And honestly, it probably would have been number 1 if it weren't for this. My number 1 movie for 2017 goes to, drum roll, Your Name. Just to make sure I was positive that this was my favorite film of the year, and I really thought I had to think about it. I got the film on Blu-ray finally after waiting like 9 excruciating months to get it. And I rewatched it. I watched it, y'all, and I've come to the conclusion that this is a freaking masterpiece. It's amazing. I can't. I would highly recommend that if you're gonna go watch Your Name, which please do not read or know very minimal about the story or anything past just like the synopsis, because that's how I think you'll get the best experience out of the film. That aside though, this thing is brilliant. Well, yes, I know this is an anime movie, but it's number 1 for a reason. A quick breakdown, it just follows a story of these 2 teens named Taki and Mitsuha from Japan. One is sort of a country girl and another one is a city boy. And their fates intertwine, and that's all I'm gonna say. The story, while it initially seems simple, it goes so much deeper, and it has some amazing twists and turns, and it's fairly complex. And this film is literally an emotional roller coaster. I saw this thing with my mom back in April whenever it came out for like a limited run. And I kid you not, fam. I kid you not. I cried for like 45 minutes straight. Like a tear from the left eye, a tear from the right eye when it hit like a sort of peak in the film around the midpoint. Okay, I'm gonna cry. I'm getting emotional thinking about this shit. But when I rewatched it the other day, I dead ass cried 5 times. Like, I'm not even a front. I'm not even gonna front, man. But apart from the story and characters, the art alone is unbelievable. Director Makoto Shinkai creates such a fluid, gorgeous piece of art, which is Your Name. You seriously need to see it a couple of times to really just take in how good and intricate the animation is, similar with the actual story and the sort of, you know, the ideas that the film is based on, and what they're picking from like history and sort of the cultural impact of certain things and names, from things to the names of towns, why like certain things are emphasized, the significance of the stars, water, etc. Not to mention the soundtrack here by Brad Wimps is infectiously good, both in the English dub and just the regular Japanese. And within the context of the film, it just elevates this entire project. This is just a masterpiece in and out, from the music, to the writing, to the directing, to the arts, everything. This film is it's perfect. I could literally go on for like 29 hours about this film and why I love it so much and why I think it's a masterpiece. With that being said, I don't want to ruin anything for you, so if you're interested in it, I think you should just totally go in blind, check it out, watch it, and let me know what you think. Even if you don't typically go into watch sort of anime movies, or you don't watch anime at all, I'd say even then still give it a try. My mom doesn't really do that kind of stuff. Watch anime, but she enjoyed it really, which is surprising as hell. A lot of other friends that I know who I told them about the film, they checked it out, they said the same thing. So, I mean, do what you will. Oh, also, if you're interested, J.J. Abrams and his friends in Hollywood is making a North American adaptation, live action, of the film, so. Anyway, but that does wrap it up for my top 10 best movies of 2017, y'all. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I rambled on for too long. Maybe this was dumb. Maybe I should just never make a video ever again. But what did y'all think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Plus, what are some of your favorite films that came out this year? I know there's a ton that I really wanted to put on this list, but I just couldn't because some of these ones I just really felt a way about it. It took a while to get this together, so just smack the like button. But no, seriously, I'd love to know your list. Leave them down in the comment section down below. I would love to see what you guys put in yours. Also, here are my honorable mentions. Split, Moana, Kung Fu Panda 3, John Wick 2, Logan, Free Fire, Girls Trip, It, Blade Runner 2049, and Thor Ragnarok. Anyway, this is probably going to be the last video that I make for the year, so just thank you so much for everyone who's been keeping up with your boy this past year. Been ups and downs and shit, but you know what? I love you, and 2018 should be good. Got some new things coming, so it's going to be cool. Anything else I gotta say? Oh, follow me here. I'll see you next time. Peace.